It's Monday, August 26th, 2024, a momentous day in Arizona. A Muslim shows up to a diversity festival. You won't believe what happens next. And Thomas Sowell says the Republican Party is blowing this election. Next on the AM Update.
I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
That is the moment. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now former independent presidential candidate, was introduced to a raucous crowd in Glendale, Arizona at a Trump rally in that state. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., formally on Friday, dropped out of the presidential race. He's polling between 5 to 10%, depending on where you look, and he formally endorsed Donald Trump. During that announcement speech, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. absolutely torched the Democrat Party.
Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate?
That is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his announcement speech, saying he's dropping out of the presidential race. Of course, this is a momentous occasion. And he made a number of other remarks as well during his announcement that he's dropping out, saying the DNC and the media were rigging election. You just heard that there, to hype up Kamala Harris as a likable candidate just out of thin air. He said the Democrat Party dismantled democracy to quote unquote save democracy. He said he's aligned with Donald Trump on securing the border and ending forever war. He says that Biden sent Boris Johnson, former UK Prime Minister, to Ukraine to pressure President Zelensky to tear up a peace deal. And he also says processed foods are poisoning Americans. During that rally that you heard a moment of just a little bit ago, Donald Trump says if he's elected again, he's going to appoint a commission to unseal all of the remaining, as of yet unseen, documents pertaining to the murder of John F. Kennedy, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It's a crazy time we're living in. It really didn't underscore to me just how momentous an occasion this was until I saw this cover from the New York Post. I think it's the Saturday edition. This is the cover. It's a photograph of Donald Trump shaking RFK Jr.'s hand on stage at Trump's rally in Glendale, Arizona, with the words, "Just when you thought you'd seen it all, a Kennedy endorses a Republican." That's when it hit home to me that this is probably an occasion that's bigger than maybe I thought it was. I think it's unquestioned across the board. This is a good thing for Trump. I don't know how good it is for Trump, but when you think somebody who is a part of the real Kennedy dynasty, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was, his dad assassinated, his uncle assassinated, two of the most prominent Democrats of the past generation, and he's now joining forces with a Republican, and not just any Republican, Donald Trump. That says a lot. Now, about the impact on this race. Trump pollster Tony Fabrizio unleashed a statement over the weekend detailing how he thinks this will actually impact the race for the White House. And across the swing states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, according to, again, this is Trump's pollster, of course, it's going to be rosy numbers. Across the board, it's beneficial, and in some cases, incredibly beneficial for Donald Trump. RFK Jr. said he's going to take his name off of 10 key swing state ballots before the election, and he expects a lot of his support to go towards the former president. So this is undoubtedly a good thing. We just don't know yet how good of a thing for Donald Trump. Also, something that is positive, the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday upheld in part, an Arizona law that requires proof of citizenship for voters registering to cast ballots in statewide elections. The High Court overruled 5-4 a lower court judge's decision invalidating a provision of that law in a brief and unsigned order requiring Arizona election election officials to reject voter registration applications that fail to provide, quote, satisfactory evidence of citizenship for state races. As of July 1st, 42,301 Arizonans are registered to vote in the upcoming federal elections, according to the Secretary of State's office, but are only required to provide documentary proof of citizenship when applying on state forms, not federal ones. But the justices did not permit a provision to take effect that would have forced voters to show proof of citizenship when registering on federal forms to cast ballots by mail or in the presidential election. Justices Neil Gorsuch, Samuel Alito, and Clarence Thomas were in favor of upholding both provisions, while Justices Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Amy Coney Barrett supported neither. RNC Chairman Michael Whatley said in a statement, quote, "This is a major victory for election integrity that upholds a simple principle: American elections must be decided by American citizens." GOP Vice Presidential hopeful J.D. Vance went on Meet the Press yesterday morning to talk about the failed policy of the Biden-Harris administration at the southern border.
So if you want to get control of the illegal immigration problem, you have to stop the bleeding. You have to stop so many people from coming here illegally in the first place, and that means undoing everything that Kamala Harris did practically on day one of the administration. You have to reimpose deportations. You have to stop catch and release. Stop granting asylum to every single person who comes in here and says that they need asylum, and stop granting mass parole. These policies are why we have the immigration crisis that we have. So I think focus on fixing the problem. Before we even fix the problem, we've got to stop the problem from getting worse.
He also torched Kamala Harris. Borders are...
Whatever the real number is, it's way too high, right? It's millions upon millions of illegal immigrants that have come in just since Kamala Harris became the border czar a few years ago.
She was put in charge of the root causes of migration.
Well, the root causes of migration, I would say, Kristen, is that Kamala Harris refuses to do her job as border czar.
That is a murder on live television. Elizabeth Warren, senator from Massachusetts, and Kamala Harris spokeswoman, or something like that, a surrogate, I guess we'll call her that. She went on CNBC to talk about the ever-growing problem of inflation and responding to claims that Kamala Harris has made that food companies are gouging consumers.
For 40 years, companies didn't know how to price gouge until 3.5 years ago when President Biden was elected. Where was the price gouging? We had 40-year highs in inflation. Where was the price? They just learned how to do this 3.5 years ago?
No, the difference is prices were not going up. And as I said, prices started going up for a whole host of reasons. Prices went up because of the pandemic. Prices went up because of supply chain kinks. Prices went up because of the war in Ukraine.
That's just their default for everything. Inflation, it's Russia. Border crisis, it's Russia. Military recruitment, it's Russia. Stub my toe, it's Russia. Just Russia, Russia, Russia all the time. That's just their default go-to when they're, caught in a lie that they can't get out of easily. Okay, and now there's this. Donald Trump on Truth Social over the weekend had this message. This is all that he posted. Quote, "My administration will be great for women and their reproductive rights." Now, a lot of people, and I've seen this all over social media over the weekend, a lot of people will say reproductive rights doesn't necessarily mean abortion. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's code word for baby murder. That's what it is. Reproductive rights just automatically means baby murder. It's one of the terms that leftists have bastardized in order to justify and really take the edge off of calling abortion what it is, which is what I just called it, baby murder. And that's what Donald Trump posted over the weekend. He has been facing increased calls, rightfully so, from people like Tony Perkins at the Family Research Council and other places for his soft tone, his softening, going all the way back to the Republican National Convention on the issue of baby murder. Basically, all we need from Donald Trump, this is the lowest of low bars, is to just come out and say, I am pro-life. I'll do whatever I can to help the cause of the pro-life movement. Because I don't know what this is for. This came out on the same day that RFK Jr. announced he's dropping his bid and supporting Donald Trump. I'm not really sure what he's trying to accomplish here, other than trying to say to the mushy middle, hey, you know what? There's, I actually am pro-choice. Vote for me. There's nobody in this mortal coil who thought that Donald Trump was literally Hitler, that he can say anything he wants about baby murder, and all of a sudden, oh, I guess he wasn't literally Hitler after all. The guy who overturned Roe v. Wade, or at least played the biggest role in overturning Roe v. Wade, is not just going to be seen as some moderate on baby killing all of a sudden. Not sure what he's doing. I think that's one of the things that, in that vein, Thomas Sowell was talking about in his new op-ed at the Wall Street Journal, headlined, "Republicans Better Get on the Ball." He claims Republicans are starting to blow this election. Here's an excerpt from that op-ed from Thomas Sowell at the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. Quote, "If the Republicans lose this year's election against an administration whose policies have been rejected by the public in poll after poll, they will deserve to lose. But do 330 million Americans deserve to see their lives ruined by another 4 years of the Democrats' economic disasters and unchecked violence by both domestic and imported criminals? Does America deserve more tragic military fiascos like that in Afghanistan, or allowing a spy balloon from China to photograph our military installations from coast to coast before finally being shot down after it was too late? And these are the people who are telling Israel how to fight a war. Against this background, why is this election even close? Some Republicans may say that it's because the media are on the side of the Democrats and suppress or distort the facts accordingly. Others may say that the universities have become indoctrination centers promoting the kind of ideologies that favor the Democrats' agenda. But even if we concede all that, the fact is that a similar situation existed back in the days of Ronald Reagan when he won 2 consecutive presidential elections by landslides. How did he do it? He did it by addressing the voting public as if they were adults who could understand an issue. If you explained it to them in plain English instead of your political jargon and snappy quips, 4 more years of disastrous Biden-Harris policies at home and abroad can take us past that fatal point. Those are some excerpts from Thomas Sowell's op-ed in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend, where he says Republicans are in danger of blowing the election. And I would say on the issue of baby killing alone, Donald Trump is putting Republicans in that position. He's giving people who would otherwise be persuaded to vote for him every excuse to sit on the sidelines. And that is, at the very best, malpractice. Now, I have a great deal of respect for Thomas Sowell. And on the other stuff there where he asks if Americans deserve fill in the blank, you heard a few of those phrases in those excerpts that I read for you. I'm sure I know what I think I know what he's trying to say. This is the kind of messaging that the Republican Party should be doing. That's the kind of messaging they should be doing. They should be talking to Americans as if they are adults. Now, when it comes to do Americans deserve fill in the blank, the answer is, sorry, Thomas Sowell, probably. If we lose this election, whatever's coming, I hate to say this, the American people kind of do deserve it. Because we showed, especially in 2020, we showed ourselves to be completely unserious about citizenship. And so, yeah, America really, you can't really say America doesn't deserve what's coming should we choose Kamala Harris. California Governor Gavin Newsom had a little bit of a media circuit over the weekend. Here he is on Newsmax talking about California's homelessness problem.
How did California get so much homelessness?
I mean, because of our own policies and neglect.
Wow. There's some candid words there. Also on Pod Save America, here's Gavin Newsom again being even more candid.
There's an intangible. It's different.
How are you feeling about the switch?
I mean,
the switch.
No, we went through a very open process, and a very inclusive process. It was bottom up. I don't know if you know that. Yes, that's what I've been told to say.
Yes, it was a blitz primary, I believe is what they called it.
It's a very, very fast blitz. I think it was a blink primary, so we call that.
A 30-minute convention. Between a tweet and another tweet.
It's amazing how it happened.
Yeah, it's been amazing. But what is?
There is Gavin Newsom. I can't tell if this is just a case of an elitist just rubbing it in all of our faces, just laughing this off. I don't know. I think there is just a bit of, wow, what are we actually doing here? Literally laughing at the talking points that they've been handed and just basically saying it is what it is. I don't know, man. Gavin Newsom, from cleaning up the waterways of Los Angeles to getting tough on San Francisco, and they're enough with their excuses for homelessness. It's clear this guy just kind of doesn't care on his way out the door in California as his governorship ends there. We'll see. Several people were killed, injured, and dead in a knife attack at a festival of diversity in Solingen, Germany. A suspect in a Friday night knife attack in Germany that killed 3 people and wounded 8 others has been arrested. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack in the western Germany city of Solingen, where a celebration of the city's anniversary had been taking place. It was also called a diversity festival. 4 of the 6 severely injured are still in life-threatening condition. The suspect is a 20 26-year-old Syrian citizen who had applied for asylum in Germany. He turned himself into police on Saturday and stated he was responsible for the attack. The State Interior Minister of North Rhine-Westphalia, Herbert Rühl, said in a TV interview on Saturday that pieces of evidence were recovered and that police had followed leads to the individual throughout the day. That official also confirmed that the suspect, based on his current knowledge, had stayed in a refugee shelter that was searched earlier in the day. Similar to what we're dealing with here in America, if you import the third world, you're going to get the third world. If you import the terrorist Islamic State, you're going to get the terrorist Islamic State. A festival of diversity in Germany. The progressive utopia that is Germany ends with 3 dead and more wounded in a knife attack. A knife attack. Again, as I said at the very top of this episode, a radical Muslim shows up to a diversity festival. You won't believe what happens next. And nobody blinks an eye. And now let's end with this. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the public face of the U.S. coronavirus pandemic response, was hospitalized earlier this month with the West Nile virus. Fauci, the 83-year-old, was hospitalized before he returned home, where he's now recovering. The nation's former top infectious disease official is expected to make a full recovery from the virus, which is most commonly spread through the bite of an infected mosquito, according to the CDC. Fauci was in the hospital for 6 days. Man, it seems like ever since he left the NIAID, he's run into a stream of just terrible luck when it comes to infections. He's had COVID multiple times, despite being jabbed and boosted multiple times. Of course, he's taken Paxlovid and multiple rebound cases of COVID, and now he's recovering from a 6-day hospitalization with West Nile virus. That's just terrible luck. Note for this week, we will be back again on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then I'll be off until Tuesday of next week. So just keep that in mind. No episodes on Thursday and Friday of this week. Taking a little bit of time off around Labor Day before the election really gets into full swing after Labor Day. Thanks for hopping on with me again this morning. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.